new business. Whereas one of council administration's mandates is to promote a positive image of Cornwall, and whereas council administration partners with businesses, agencies, along with print media, web media, radio, and TV to get that positive media on the great things Cornwall has to offer, and whereas Cornwall Free News has initiated a top 100 letters campaign on why Cornwall, Ontario is so amazing. People send good letters on why Cornwall is so amazing that are then placed on the CFN website, and visitors to the site can vote for the one that they feel is the best. And whereas in January, 41,530 unique visitors to CFN website, which speaks volumes in itself. Therefore, be it resolved that Council directs administration to partner with CFN in their top 100 letters campaign and allow portals to the Cornwall Facebook site along the city's webpage.
Moved by Councilor Dupelle, Councilor Dupelle. Now, maybe before you start, Councilor, just I'd like us all to think of, because of course, just having been made aware of the motion, whether there's any conflict with the standing motion council has with regards to advertising. So I just put that up as a precautionary note. I haven't had time to research this, to give it more thought as I would like to. And certainly you all are not really telling any state secrets when I tell you that I'm not very techy. Whether there are any security issues related to this or not, anything else, but I'm at a loss, so I'm just trying to move rather cautiously, if I may put it that way. Councilor Dupelle.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think that, having a link to our webpage about a contest or something that's happening that's trying to promote positive stuff within our community, I don't think has anything to do with the motion before. I didn't support the motion on the advertising policy before, but I think that it's time that this city council turns a new page and that all the parties involved turn that same new page. We have a new CAO, we have a new city clerk. I think it's time that we move forward. I think that what I want to make sure is that we're treating all businesses that we do business with in the same manner. And I think that's really important that we reflect on that and make sure that this is what's happening within our city. I think as politicians, we're all criticized, we're all made a cartoon at one time or another in some media, print or online. I think that happens all the time, just not with certain online medias. You see it in local medias that we read every day here in Cornwall. So I think that if we as politicians aren't up for that, we're criticized at local coffee shops. We're the joke of the morning some days after council meeting at some coffee shops, and that's just the way it goes. Some people enjoy doing that, and we can't stop that from happening. People are going to continue to do that, whether we participate in a contest about why Cornwall is the best place to live. I think that we need to show that why it is the best place to live, and that we're able to do that through all avenues. And I think that when we're looking at promoting contests that are before us that specifically deal with the city of Cornwall and our images. And I guess I can't say it anymore that we all the parties involved need to make sure that we turn a new page and that we continue to promote a healthy and inclusive community. And I think that's with doing it through all our media partners. And I think it's very important that our media partners are on board with us. But on the same token, we have to be on the same board as they are. And they'll always be there to bring the news that is important to the residents of Cornwall and the news that residents want to read. And I'm just, Councillor Rivette had seconded the motion, and I think it's time that it comes to the table and we deal with this one way or the other, and we let things happen. And I don't think us contributing stuff to the event and merchandise is any different than us doing business or advertising with an ad in the contest. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Gardner?
Well, I'm glad you said that some of these things that come...
Chair, to the chair, please.
Oh, I'm sure maybe Gordon. That some of these things that are said are funny, and they're comical, and they're comics, all of it. But being called the 15th most corrupt councillor in Cornwall is not fighting. So if that's going to continue, then where we're going, I'm not going there. I'm going to vote against this as long as I get that negative stuff that comes out of that newspaper.
Councillor Sampson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Councillor Dupelle, Councillor Yvette, and also Councillor Gardner. We have to move this city. We have to move it forward. We need the news media, all our department heads to be our partners. We have to move forward, and we ask them to have a positive mentality at all times. A lot of us here have gave up a lot of things to sit at this table. There's been our forefathers have given a lot to be here, have done a lot for this city. So I hope that the news media, as always, appreciate the efforts. We're only trying to make this a better city, and the ridiculousness doesn't help. So all I'm saying is, I hope the media, I'm in favor of CFN and any other news agency, and the thing that's positive to promote the city, we should all be on board. And that's my feeling, and I hope the news media hears me as well. Thank you.
Councillor Yvette, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I agree with Morris. We've got to turn the page. We've got to move on here. What we're asking for is to be part of a good news letter program that they're putting on this website. I mean, 41,000 hits, unique hits on January speaks volumes for itself. I have no doubt about that. But I think it's important that we have to move on. I says, you know, and you know, Mr. Mayor, I think some of the council on this table know that I could have been, not that long ago, been doing the same thing about other things that occurred where I was involved, and it was wrong. I got the apology, but it was still wrong what was said. And nobody around this table wanted to implement that policy. I never heard about it. You know? Pardon me?
Order, Councillor.
Oh, well,
Gardner.
So all I'm saying, Mr. Mayor, I think it's important we turn a page. I think it's not being fair to the CAO to start a new job with all this stuff going on. I think let's get out there, let's turn the page, we go here, and the message is out there. I think the message is very clear what council is saying tonight. We want to make sure it's positive, and if it's not, I'll be the first one to stand up and endorse implementing that policy we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just wondering, I don't have a copy of the new business motion. I'm just wondering if you could read up the resolve, so
Therefore, be it resolved that council directs administration to partner with CFN in their Top 100 Letters campaign and allow portals to the Cornwall Facebook site along with the city's webpage.
So is there, I'm trying to understand the benefit for us participating. What is the benefit? I have to understand before we give a direction to administration, I have to understand what's the benefit to participate.
Councillor Dupelle, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Councillor Grant, I think the benefit is that we are the city of Cornwall. There's a competition going on about why this is the most amazing, or why Cornwall is an amazing place to live, and that our own city website should have a link to this and be able to say that we're participating in this 100 letter campaign.
Just so I understand, if we don't have a link, does that mean we don't participate?
No, but I guess to me it doesn't make very much sense that there's a campaign going on for us as to why we're the best place to live, and we're not participating in it at all. So the benefit.
Through you, Mr. What is the benefit of the link? So I can't understand that, what the benefit is.
It's so that residents using our website can go on and enter this contest through using our link, using our website.
I want the mayor to explain that techie point.
Yeah. How much time have you got?
Thank you.
Councillor Carr, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, I appreciate that the fact that $100 being positive about the city of Cornwall are well worth broadcasting. And I don't have a problem with that. But if we talk about a new beginning, a fresh start, well, that's what we're asking for, fresh start. That means all the stuff that's gone on in the past, and I'd say to some of the people from JMO here tonight, Call Free News, Some of the stuff that's gone on in the past, some of the caricatures, some of the cartoons, are in bad taste. And they would have to be removed too, before I would suggest to you that the city should be involved. And if you're talking about a fresh start means you clean up what's gone on in the past and you start again from the beginning. And if that's if that's what your motion says, I have no problem supporting it. So I'd ask you if, with the mover and the second of the motion, can you give me that kind of guarantee?
Well,
Well, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Carr, I can't give you that personal guarantee, but as you know, I spoke here tonight that everybody involved needs to be on board. My motion tonight was to participate in the 100 Letters campaign, and I would hope that with it being a fresh new start, that we could look towards the media and make sure that, at least from this point on, we're going forward in a positive manner. I can't personally guarantee you, Councillor Carr.
Councilor McDonald, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I just pick up on a phrase of Councillor Dupelle's there, that from this time forward, we go forward in a positive manner. I would like to say we have always proceeded in a positive manner, and I don't think we need to change direction here at all. I think that we'd be putting ourselves in a rather dangerous position partnering with any one of the news media. And in fact, we may be going so far, and I'm not sure if I would consider CFN news media or a blog, and I'm sure that's up to question and opinion, but for us to allow ourselves to partner with any news media, I think is inappropriate. Many news agencies, many organizations in town have done positive things for the city of Cornwall, and I don't know what sort of precedent we're setting if we include one of them. Like, I wish, first of all, we had this in hand, that paper copy, but we're going to put a link on our city website to the CFN, to this exercise, 100 Letters. For whom else are we doing things like this? Like, I think this is a precedent that we
Councilor McDonald?
don't need to
Well,
go to.
I would think, Mr. Mayor, through you to Councillor McDonald, that anybody who approaches us with a positive campaign that reflects the city of Cornwall, the city of Cornwall should be on board. If the other local media has come up with another campaign that's going on, I would encourage our colleagues here to support that. Anything that we can do that promotes a positive image of the city of Cornwall, we should be backing that.
Well, we don't tend to put those kind of recognitions on our city webpage, and if we were going to, then I think this would have to go to administration for some consideration. There'd have to be parameters. I think there should be a notice of motion rather than a motion. I don't understand why it was a motion in the first place, but I would at least ask that it be considered a notice of motion, and we've got time to consider the ramifications of this. Our website has its own particular integrity, and I don't think that we don't readily, like, I don't know what other links we have. I just did a quick check here thinking, to whom have we linked, you know? I don't think there's ever a freeholder story that we linked to from our website, ever.
Yep.
And there's been plenty of good news.
Council can always ask for a deferral if it wishes
So
to.
I asked for a deferral.
Is there a seconder?
And a report from administration.
It's going to defer.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. Just maybe, perhaps we can ask the clerk if it's required for the notice of motion, if some of you mentioned something about being against the current policy or motion. Perhaps we could just get a ruling from the clerk on that.
Madam Clerk?
If it goes against an existing policy or an existing resolution, yes, there should be a notice of motion beforehand. And if the report is required, then also it should be a notice of motion.
If I can join in for a moment here. I'm trying to, before Councilor Dupelle took the floor, the question I was trying to put to all of us is, I guess let me go back a little bit and ask either Mr. Welcome Economic Development or the CAO. First of all, the motion that we have on the books, and I think it was moved by Councilor Rivette some time ago, talked about I think the purchase of advertising, if I'm not mistaken. So I guess I'd like to know from the administration, in this case, there's been, or is there, a request for financial support? And if, Mr. Ball?
Mr. Levac and I did receive a request for sponsorship of $3,000 for this contest.
And that was declined.
Mr. Levac provided a letter which outlined that there was the offer of a sponsorship of up to $500 in merchandise. And so that was the offer.
Because now the difficulty is, whether we're talking about cash or in kind. I'm concerned that they might be in contravention of the motion that was already adopted by council. And, if that's the case, we cannot, if that's the case, that's the first thing, that's the first thing we have to deal with technically. I mean, we passed a motion, duly passed a motion, and now there's been a request to purchase advertising, and whether the compensation was in the form of cash, I would submit to you, both go to the issue of contravening the motion that we presently have on the books. I'll take some points, just on that, okay, nothing else, just that. Okay, Councilor Dupelle.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, the motion doesn't, my motion doesn't ask for any kind of financial support. My motion clearly asks for us to link this campaign to our website. What transpired prior to this meeting with an offer of, I don't have that information, so through you to Mr. Levac, what happened there, I'm not asking us to give money, and I'm not asking us to give merchandise. So, and to your point, I agree. It certainly goes against the motion that's on the book. So that's why I didn't feel that this needed a notice of motion.
I appreciate that clarification, but please understand also, I just wanted to verify with administration in terms of due process what had occurred prior to this being tabled this evening, so.
Okay.
Because that's the challenge we all face with these new business motions, as opposed to notices of motion, in that we're having to deal with it in a very tight time frame. But that's okay.
If I may, Mr. Mayor,
it's a healthy process.
if I may, Mr. Mayor, I spoke to Mr. Levac prior to my motion here, asking him, or suggesting that from my point of view as a councillor, that we needed to get on board with this campaign. So when that didn't come to light, I decided to put a new business motion, which is what we do as councillors.
That's correct. No, I'm not, due process was followed. I'm not,
All right,
just
thank
saying,
you.
just saying the challenge that we face in terms of when we deal with one as opposed to the other, because it's very different, that's all. Okay. Anything else on this? If not, I'll go back to the list. Councilor Dupelle?
Just, Mr. Levac, you know exactly what I gave you, and you reviewed it. Do you think that broke the policy also?
I don't know, Council, we don't, and we know we don't know, none of us know what's being referred to here. That's the difficulty, so maybe we can just.
I think you know what I'm talking about.
No, I honestly, Councilor, I might, but I can't put my finger on it. Councilor Sampson, what?
Point of order. So, anytime I want to bring new business, I don't have to show my fellow councilors a motion, like the politeness to see something, to read it, prior to us discussing it,
Our procedures have two avenues. One is a new business motion.
right?
Which I tabled myself this evening.
Right?
Councilor Rivette also did, and now our another colleague, Councilor Dupelle, is doing likewise. The other one is a notice of motion, and I think maybe it would be helpful for us going forward after this evening, if the clerk could draw us a note in terms of how we differentiate between a notice of motion and a new business motion. I think it'd be helpful for all of us.
I'm all for the idea, but if there's any financial implication, I want a legal
There are none.
representation.
There are none.
Sure, why don't we just vote on it and be done with
Well,
it?
let me just, some people still want to speak to you, Councilor. Councilor McDonald was just closing. Councilor Clement, wish to speak?
I heard Councilor McDonald make a motion to defer, which was seconded.
Well, now we're on the deferral. Okay, so, any debate on the deferral?
Point of
Councilor-
order again, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Grant.
Even a motion to defer is in order, if the clerk has just ruled it should be a notice of motion, that should be tabled until the next meeting anyway. You don't need a motion to defer. She's made a ruling that it requires a notice of motion. So unless she changes her mind, it's a notice of motion for the next meeting. And that can be challenged by the.
And we're gonna hear that right now. Councilor Dupelle.
Mr. Mayor, I mean, there's no financial implication, so I don't know why we can't table this as new business as it has been here tonight. If council feels they want to vote against it, we're going to have a recorded vote. I'm going to ask for a recorded vote. Vote against it. That's what all I can tell my colleagues. We're trying to turn this inside out when there's a notice of motion, there's a new business motion before us. Now it's trying to be turned into a notice of motion. I'm not asking for any sponsorship. I'm not asking for any money. I'm not asking for any city wear to be given to this campaign. I think it's pretty clear what's in front of us, and I think we need to either continue to have the conversations or call a vote.
We'll have it. Thank you for your help, both of you. Given that we introduced it as a notice, as a new business motion, I'm going to let it stand as a new business motion. Now we have a motion to defer, duly seconded. So any debate on the deferral? Councilor Carr.
Thank you, Worship. If in fact this motion is going to be deferred, I think the reason we had any discussions at all was because we've talked about a new beginning. I know Mr. Levac, when he was first appointed, talked with Cornwall Free News about a new beginning. Mr. Boileau and Mr. Levac are, I think, are very understand the rules and the relationship that council has in many instances with different media types. I know what Mr. Gilsick is trying to do here, and he talked about a new beginning. Well, if we're all serious about a new beginning, I would suggest that the Cornwall Free News and Mr. Levac and Mr. Boileau have the meeting, come back to us and say, here's what we think is a new beginning. It would be the city's new beginning, and if Cornwall Free News is shaking their hand,
Shaking
well,
their
let's not even have the meeting. If we're already
It's bullshit.
Councilor to the chair.
Sorry, I'm very sorry, but if we can't have a meeting to discuss how we can have a new beginning and how we can work together, then I think all motions are ridiculous and nothing's going to happen anyway.
Any further debate on the deferral? Ready for the question on the deferral? Councilor Dupelle?
I'm very sad to see this debate take place. It's very divisive. And I respect that the mayor has ruled it's a new business motion, but when things are this divisive, it's sometimes a good idea to take some time to think. I understand where you're coming from, Councilor Dupelle, and how you've tabled it, and technically that is correct. But from a purely human point of view, this kind of thing is not helpful. So I am going to support the motion to defer, simply to see if further discussions can take place around a new beginning. I also want clarification on that original motion that was made by council. I think I didn't support it. I wouldn't support such a motion again if it were tabled. But it would be interesting to get a clearer understanding of what that motion means and exactly how it connects with anything that we've discussed tonight. So I'm going to support Councillor McDonald's motion to defer.
Any further discussion on the deferral? Councilor Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I won't support the motion to defer. The reason being is I think our CAO has explained to all of us justification why we don't support this, and my support is behind him. And so I'm going to vote on the motion put forth by Councillor Dupelle when it comes, but I won't support the deferral.
Any further debate on the deferral? Further question? All those in favor of the deferral? All those opposed? I'm in favor of the deferral, so the motion, the new business motion is deferred.